Imagine walking through the darkest tunnel of your life. Everyone you trusted has left, every door you knocked on has closed, every hand you reached for has slipped away. At that moment your heart whispers, who is really with me? And then you discover something so powerful. There is one who never leaves, one who never betrays, one that knows you more than you know yourself. That is the moment you realize what it means when Allah becomes your close friend. When Allah is your companion, loneliness disappears. When Allah is your protector, fear melts away. And when Allah is your guide, every step you take will carry purpose even if the world cannot see it. This is not just a feeling, it is a reality that transforms the way you live, the way you think, and the way you hope. The path to reaching this closeness with Allah is not complicated, but it requires sincerity, effort, and trust. Let us reflect on how this relationship is built. When we begin to think about what it means to have Allah as a close friend, the first thing that naturally comes to mind is communication. Because every relationship is built on communication, and our relationship with Allah is no different. The only difference is that this relationship is the most beautiful, the most powerful, and the most complete form of communication you will ever experience. If you truly want to feel the closeness of Allah, you cannot treat your prayers as empty rituals. You cannot simply rush through them like a task that needs to be ticked off a checklist. No, your prayer has to be a conversation, a deep, heartfelt exchange between you and your Creator. Imagine for a moment that you have a friend who is always there for you, who never gets tired of listening to you, who doesn't interrupt you, who doesn't judge you, and who understands your silence as much as your words. That is exactly who Allah is when you turn to Him in prayer. Think about how we speak to people we trust. We tell them our secrets, we share our dreams, we cry in front of them. And we feel safe because we believe they will not expose us, they will not abandon us, and they will not betray us. Yet even with those people, there are limits. There are things we hold back because they might not understand, or they might change their view of us. With Allah, there are no such fears. You can expose the deepest parts of your heart, the sins you regret, the wounds you carry, the mistakes you cannot even admit to yourself, and He will still embrace you with mercy. There is no shame in crying before Him, no fear in confessing your weakness, no hesitation in admitting that you are broken. In fact, the more vulnerable you are before Allah, the stronger you will become. This is why prayer is so central. It is not about the movement of the body alone, but the connection of the heart. When your forehead touches the ground, you are not lowering yourself, you are rising into the safety of His closeness. That moment of sujood is the moment when your soul is higher than the angels. Have you ever noticed how peaceful you feel after sincere prayer, even if your problem remains unresolved? That is because your soul has touched its source. Your heart has emptied its burdens onto the one who can carry them without ever tiring. And when you get up from that prayer mat, you are not the same person who walked into it. You are calmer, lighter, and stronger because you are walking out with the assurance that Allah heard you. But this closeness in prayer does not come automatically. It requires sincerity. It requires you to pause and reflect on what you are saying. Too often, our tongues recite words that our hearts don't process. But when you remember that these are not ordinary words, they are words chosen by Allah, they are words filled with secrets of mercy, you begin to feel them differently. When you say Allahu Akbar, you are declaring that Allah is greater than your problems, greater than your enemies, greater than your fears, greater than your pain. And when you say Alhamdulillah, you are reminding yourself that even in loss, even in hardship, there are blessings that deserve gratitude. And then when you say Ayaka nabudu wa ayaka nasta'in, you alone we worship, you alone we ask for help. You are declaring your dependence, your weakness, your inability to survive without Him. Imagine how powerful this moment is. You are telling Allah, I will lean on you, I will walk with you, I will place my future in your hands. And the most beautiful part, He listens. Every single time. Never once does Allah turn away from a servant who turns to Him sincerely. This is why when you make dua, do not hold back. Pour your heart out. Tell Allah exactly how you feel. If you are scared, tell Him. If you are broken, admit it. If you are grateful, express it. Even if you think your request is small or silly, remember that Allah is not bothered by the size of your need. To Him, there is no difference between asking for forgiveness and asking for a shoelace. Both are given by Him and both are within His power. The more you make dua, the more your bond with Allah strengthens because you are proving to your own soul that you depend on Him. When this kind of closeness is built in prayer, you will find yourself longing for the prayer time. You will start to feel restless when you are distant from Allah. Just as a person who loves someone looks forward to seeing them, hearing from them, being with them, the believer who befriends Allah looks forward to every chance to stand before Him. That is why the companions used to say, our comfort is in prayer, because it was not a ritual. It was their lifeline, their safe space, their secret meeting with the one who loved them most. But what about when life becomes heavy, when challenges overwhelm us, when hardships knock at our door? This is where the second step of this friendship with Allah becomes vital, trusting Him in hardship. You see, it is easy to say you are close to Allah when everything is going your way. It is easy to pray when your life is calm and to thank Allah when blessings surround you. But the true test of friendship with Allah comes when life turns against you, when your heart is bleeding, when the things you loved are taken away, when your plans collapse, when your dreams shatter. That is when trust in Allah separates the strong from the weak. To trust Allah in hardship means to believe with every fiber of your being that He has not abandoned you. It means that even when you do not understand why something is happening, you still hold on to the certainty that there is wisdom behind it. Think of a child who is taken to the doctor. The child may cry, may feel betrayed when given medicine or an injection, may even think the parent is cruel. But the parent knows better. The parent knows that this temporary pain is saving the child from greater harm. Similarly, when Allah allows you to go through hardship, it is not cruelty, it is protection, it is preparation, it is purification. If you look back at your own life, you will realize that some of the most painful chapters shaped you in ways comfort never could. The tears you shed taught you resilience. The losses you faced taught you detachment. And betrayals you endured taught you reliance. And the closed doors you encountered led you to better ones. At the time you might have been angry or confused, but later you realized that Allah was guiding you all along. That is the essence of trust, believing that Allah sees what you cannot, that His plan stretches beyond your limited vision, and that His mercy is hidden even in the midst of pain. And when this trust becomes real, fear melts away, anxiety lessens, because the believer starts to say, if Allah is with me, if Allah has written this, then it was meant for me. If Allah has taken this away, then it was never mine. This mindset transforms every hardship into a source of strength. Instead of asking, why me? The believer begins to ask, what is Allah teaching me through this? And that shift changes everything. Look at the prophets. Each one faced trials that would crush ordinary people, yet they held on because they trusted Allah. Yusuf was thrown into a well by his own brothers, sold as a slave, thrown into prison. But he never lost his trust, and Allah raised him to power. Musa stood at the sea with an army behind him and water in front of him, but he trusted Allah and said, my Lord is with me, He will guide me. And Allah split the sea for him. Our beloved Prophet faced rejection, loss of loved ones, exile, battles, but he never doubted Allah's plan. And today, his name is remembered in every corner of the world. When Allah becomes your close friend, your entire outlook on worship transforms. You begin to see your acts of obedience not as a burden placed on your shoulders, but as a privilege and honor, a gift that has been given to you. Too many people look at the commands of Allah through the lens of restriction, as if He has asked us to do things just to make life difficult. But the truth is, when your heart grows close to Allah, you no longer obey Him out of a cold sense of duty or out of fear alone. You obey Him out of love. Love changes everything. When you truly love someone, you do things for them not because you have to, but because you want to. A mother wakes up countless times in the night for her child. She sacrifices her sleep, her comfort, her health, but she doesn't count it as a burden because her love transforms her sacrifice into joy. A person in love will walk miles just to see the one they love for a few minutes, and they will not complain of the distance, because in their eyes, the distance becomes part of the gift. When you fall in love with Allah, the same thing happens. The commandments of Allah no longer appear like chains. When you become wings that elevate you, when you are in love with Allah, you fast not because you dread punishment if you don't, but because you relish the closeness that hunger brings, the purity it awakens in your soul, the discipline it sharpens in your character. You lower your gaze not because you are afraid of being caught, but because you don't want to stain the heart that longs for His light. You avoid haram not because you fear the fire only, but because you cannot bear to disappoint the one who has been so gentle, so forgiving, so merciful with you. When you love Allah, your heart whispers to you, how can I hurt the one who never hurt me? How can I turn away from the one who always turned towards me? That love transforms you. And in truth, this is the essence of true servitude. To worship Allah with love is to worship Him the way He deserves, Because He has not given you anything out of cruelty. He has given you every single blessing you have out of His love for you. Your eyes, your breath, your heartbeat, your family, your health, your opportunities. None of these were earned before you were born, yet Allah granted them to you. If you really sit with yourself and count what you have, you won't realize that there is no way to ever repay Him, no way to even begin to thank Him. And so every act of obedience becomes a small attempt to say thank you. Every prayer becomes a way of saying, I remember you because you remembered me first. I love you because you loved me first. I come towards you because you came towards me first. When this understanding takes root, sin becomes something your heart naturally resists. You no longer need a list of rules to remind you what to avoid, because your love for Allah makes you recoil from anything that distances you from Him. Just as a close friend would never willingly harm their companion, the believer who loves Allah cannot bear to walk a path that would sadden the one they love. Think of it like a relationship built on loyalty. If your closest friend asked you not to reveal a secret, you would guard it fiercely. Not because the secret itself is heavy, because you do not want to betray their trust. In the same way, you guard yourself from sin, not because the sin itself seems unbearable, but because you do not want to betray Allah's love. And once love governs your obedience, the acts of worship begin to taste sweet. The prayer feels light, the Quran feels alive, the remembrance feels soothing. What others see as hard, you begin to see as beautiful. This is why the Prophet described prayer as the coolness of his eyes. It wasn't just an obligation, it was his sanctuary, his comfort, his delight. You too can reach a state where you long for these moments, where your heart races to stand before Allah, where you feel restless until you connect with Him. This is the transformation of obedience when it is driven by love. But that love cannot remain hidden in the heart only. Love expresses itself in remembrance. Think of someone who is always on your mind. No matter how busy your day is, their name crosses your thoughts, their memory brings you comfort, their presence gives you strength. If this is true of human love, what about divine love? When Allah becomes your close friend, you remember Him constantly, not out of force, but out of longing. His name becomes your anchor in storms, your shield in temptation, companion in loneliness. You remember Him when you wake up, because you know He is the one who returned your soul after sleep. You remember Him before you eat, because you know He is the one who provided your sustenance. You remember Him when you are afraid, because you know only He can protect you. You remember Him when you are joyful, because you know only He allowed the joy to reach you. This remembrance is not limited to the tongue, it is the language of the heart. You can be silent, yet your heart is alive with dhikr. You can be busy with your worldly tasks, yet your soul whispers Allah's name with every beat. This is what the Quran describes. People who remember Allah standing, sitting, and lying down. Their remembrance does not require a perfect setting, it flows naturally into every part of their lives. And this remembrance becomes like oxygen. You cannot survive without it. If a few hours pass and you haven't thought of Allah, your heart begins to suffocate, your spirit begins to weaken. But the moment you remember Him, it is as if a fresh wind has entered your lungs and revived you again. And the beauty of remembrance is that it feeds every other aspect of your faith. The more you remember Allah, the easier it becomes to obey Him with love. The more you remember Allah, the more you trust Him in hardship, the more you remember Allah, the more you crave His closeness in prayer. Every act of faith is strengthened by dhikr, because remembrance keeps the heart awake. A heart that forgets Allah becomes heavy with the world, but a heart that remembers Allah floats above its burdens. There are moments in life when this remembrance will literally save you. Imagine being at the edge of a decision that could destroy your hereafter. Imagine temptation calling you so loudly that your entire body wants to give in. And then suddenly, from somewhere deep inside, a voice whispers, Allah is watching. That single moment of remembrance is what stops you, what saves you, what pulls you back from the edge. That is the power of having Allah as your close friend. He places His remembrance in your heart at the moments you need it most. And the reward of remembering Him is beyond imagination. He says in His own words, "Remember me, I will remember you." Imagine that. The Creator of the heavens and the earth, the Lord of majesty, mentioning your name in gatherings of angels simply because you whispered His name in solitude. Is there any honor greater than that? To be remembered by Allah Himself. This is what remembrance brings. It elevates you when no one is watching. It honors you when you feel forgotten. It connects you when you feel isolated. Something incredible begins to happen inside your heart. Your love starts to align with His love. What you once found attractive in this world begins to lose its shine if it distances you from Him, and what you may have ignored before suddenly becomes precious because He loves it. Love is a powerful force. It shapes decisions, it directs actions, it transforms entire personalities. And when that love is directed towards Allah and what He loves, your entire life changes in ways you could never have imagined. Think about the relationships you have in this world. When you love someone dearly, you naturally begin to love the things they love. If your closest friend enjoys a certain food, you develop a taste for it. If they dislike a certain behavior, you avoid it. Even if you once found it normal, your love for them makes you sensitive to what pleases or displeases them. Now imagine this relationship with Allah. If your love for Him is genuine, you will find your heart gravitating towards the qualities, the actions, and the people that He loves, and turning away from the things He dislikes. This is the natural outcome of befriending Allah. Allah loves justice, so you begin to crave fairness even in the smallest dealings. You no longer cheat, lie, or deceive, even if you can get away with it, because your heart whispers, how can I claim to love Allah and practice something He dislikes? Allah loves kindness, so you become gentle with your words, soft with your actions, merciful with those around you, even when they are difficult with you. Allah loves humility, so arrogance begins to feel heavy, pride begins to feel dirty, and you start lowering yourself in service rather than elevating yourself in ego. Allah loves generosity, so suddenly you find yourself sharing, giving, feeding, supporting, not because you expect anything in return from people, but because you know Allah smiles upon the one who spends in His path. And as this transformation deepens, your identity shifts. Your markers of success are no longer the measurements of this world, but the measurements of Allah's love. Before, you may have felt proud when people praised you, when they admired your wealth, your appearance, your status. But once your heart beats in rhythm with Allah's love, you start to ask different questions. Does Allah approve of me? Does Allah see me trying? Does Allah love what I just did? These questions begin to matter more than all the applause of the world. And the more you ask them, the freer you become from the chains of people's expectations. You will no longer live for their validation because your eyes are fixed on a higher goal, living for Allah's pleasure. This shift is liberating. Imagine living in a world where everyone's opinions control you, where every decision is shaped by fear of people's judgment, where every move is calculated to win their approval. That is exhausting because people's approval is never stable. It changes like the wind. But when Allah becomes your closest friend and you love what He loves, your compass becomes steady. You stop fearing people's disapproval when you know Allah approves, and you stop chasing their applause when you know Allah disapproves. This stability gives you peace, courage, and dignity. Now let's take it deeper. To love what Allah loves is not just about actions, it's about people too. Allah loves the righteous, so you find yourself drawn to them. Even if they are not wealthy or famous, even if they are ordinary in the eyes of society, they become precious to you because Allah loves them. And Allah dislikes arrogance and oppression, so no matter how powerful or popular an oppressor is, your heart cannot admire them. Your standard of admiration is not the world's standard, it is Allah's standard. You admire a person who wakes up before dawn to stand in prayer more than a person who flaunts luxury before cameras. You admire the quiet giver who feeds orphans in secret more than the celebrity who is praised in magazines. This is the reprogramming of love when Allah enters your heart. And this love also reshapes how you deal with your own weaknesses. Allah loves repentance, so even when you sin, you don't fall into despair. You don't believe your mistakes make you unworthy of His love. Instead, your heart pushes you back towards Him because you know that returning to Him is beloved to Him. Imagine that your act of turning back after sin is itself an act that Allah loves. So your failures no longer become an excuse to run away, they become a reason to return. That is what happens when you align your love with His. To love what Allah loves also means loving acts of worship that once felt heavy. Think about it. How many times do people say prayer feels like a chore, fasting feels like a burden, charity feels like a loss? But once your heart tastes the sweetness of Allah's love, those same acts begin to feel like treasures. You begin to look forward to prayer because you know Allah loves those who bow and prostrate to Him. You begin to enjoy fasting because you know Allah said He loves it so much that its reward is with Him personally. You begin to crave giving charity because you know that every coin you give makes you beloved to Him. Your love turns duties into delights, commands into privileges. And there is something even more profound. To love what Allah loves also means loving moments of patience even when they hurt. Because Allah loves those who are patient. So when life throws you difficulties, your heart no longer sees them as pointless torture. It sees them as opportunities to become beloved to Allah. You begin to say to yourself, if this pain makes Allah love me more, then I will endure it with strength. If this loss brings me closer to His heart, then I will carry it with dignity. That is the kind of transformation love can create. It makes even suffering meaningful, because you know the one you love is watching, appreciating, rewarding. And then there is the greatest test of love, loving what Allah loves even when it goes against your own desires. Sometimes you want something, but Allah dislikes it. Sometimes you resist something, but Allah loves it. To surrender in those moments, to place His love above your desire, it is the truest proof of your friendship with Him. It's easy to love Allah when His love aligns with what you already want. But the real beauty of faith is when you sacrifice what your ego craves because you want His love more. And every time you make that choice, your heart grows lighter, your soul grows stronger, and your bond with Him grows deeper. And here is where the miracle unfolds. When you love what Allah loves, Allah begins to love you. And when Allah loves you, He protects you, He guides you, He raises you, He writes your name among those who are closest to Him. There is a narration that says when Allah loves a servant, He calls out to Jibril and says, I love this person, so love him. And Jibril loves him, and he announces to the heavens that Allah loves this person, so the angels love him, and then acceptance is placed for him on earth. Imagine that chain reaction. Your heart's alignment with Allah's love elevates you to a place where the heavens themselves know your name. And perhaps the most beautiful fruit of loving what Allah loves is how it prepares you for the hereafter. Because the love you build here will be carried with you there. When you stand on the day of judgment, trembling, fearful, surrounded by billions of souls, the love you cultivated for Allah and what He loves will become your light. You would be raised among those you loved, because love ties souls together. If you love the righteous, you will be gathered with them. If you loved acts of worship, you will see their reward in front of you. If you loved Allah sincerely, you will find Him as your friend on that day, when no other friendship will matter.